Today on Campus Builders, I'm going to give you a tip about something that we learned later as we were in the process of building our school. It's something that, had we known earlier, it literally would have taken us to a whole nother level overnight. Stay tuned. Often, one of the things that you'll find yourself that you have to do is you have to worry about, the overhead. You have to constantly worry about whether or not people are being trained properly. And as perhaps the school owner or the director, a lot of times we don't even necessarily know what that should be. We do have our systems and our processes that we develop, but the one thing that we don't do is necessarily begin to write that down and keep it somewhere where someone can readily have access to it should anything happen. So one of the things that I learned as we were years later into the process of building our institution was that somewhere along the way we should have taken this and did it a lot sooner. Have you ever heard of an SOP? So an SOP is basically the directions of how you do a process, how your system actually runs. It helps to onboard someone a lot quicker because all they have to do is literally sit there and just take a look at whatever you have in whatever type of medium that you've placed it in, and they can be that faster at getting an understanding for whatever it is that you would like to impart on them. So SOP stands for standard operating procedures, and sometimes it's called processes, however you want to look at it, right? So an SOP is important for many reasons. One, there's times when, as a institution owner, as someone that is working on a daily basis in your organization, you really don't have time to begin to train someone new to have them do that process that you need and you just don't want to have to deal with anymore. So I suggest that along the way, you begin to develop an SOP. In that SOP, you'll find that from the moment that you train that first individual, I used the first SOP that we developed to train 3 offshore recruiters. And in training them, thereafter, anyone who wanted to know the process of what we had to go through in order to enroll students, in order to disseminate information amongst all of the admissions representatives, they could reference the SOP. Now, SOPs, they look different. It just depends on your organization. It depends on what you want in your SOP. Now, the SOP that we now have that we're using with our admissions representatives specifically has over 200 videos. It has every process. It's more of a how-to systematic approach. I like to think of it as a trifold view of what it is that they need to know. One, it allows you to be able to sit and read the information, right? It's not just about osmosis. One of the biggest mistakes I think that business owners or even just trainers in general make is that we always want to show people, but we don't necessarily have anything for them to leave with in order to retain the information. So it's written, they're able to read it. Then it's a video format now that they can actually sit down and intake that information and watch it over and over again as many times as it takes in order for them to understand it. And then at the same time, we now have audio from the SOP that our team is able to listen to. So it just brings a whole new dynamic to how fast we can get someone onboarded, how fast we can disseminate information across the organization, and everybody gets the same information at the same time, regardless of what it is. Now, SOPs aren't just limited. SOP doesn't necessarily have to be just for your admissions team. SOP has to do with any process within your organization that somebody else would have to come behind someone else to do. So we now have SOPs for every position within our organization so that if anything happens to one person, someone else can come in and know exactly where they can pick up in order that they would be able to do that job. So if you don't have an SOP as of right now for your institution, then this is something that you definitely ought to have. I hope this information helps you in some shape, form, or fashion. Again, my name is Carlos L. Harris. Leave a comment down below, share your thoughts and opinion, and until then, I'll see you on the other side.